Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Lessons Learned Part 15, Identifying Your Blind Spots. In this series of episodes, I'm going to go through the lessons I learned along the journey of my life. And specifically, I'm going to cover different aspects of my life now that I'm older, wiser, and can look back and see what I could have done better. The goal is to provide a guideline to help others through their journey of life. So ultimately, they can learn from my mistakes and learn from them along their own journey. Throughout my life, I've discovered many blind spots that I formed early on and I didn't know until much later in life. And each time I address those blind spots, my life has significantly improved. These blind spots prevented me from making valuable connections and seizing opportunity early on in life. I struggled with picking up social cues, inefficient learning, and not knowing what my knowledge gaps were. As I became aware of each of these blind spots, I was aware of how detrimental their impacts were to me. Throughout my experiences, I've become much cognizant in recognizing my own blind spots, and now I can identify them much quicker than early on in my life. This has allowed me to proactively resolve certain issues and course correct my flaws, leading to continuous growth and personal development for me. I believe that by sharing my lessons learned on how to identify blind spots, they can help other people as well. Everyone has blind spots, and identifying them and being aware of them can help us in our own personal growth and development journey. By being conscious of our blind spots, we can overcome them and improve our lives as a result of it. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, my lessons learned, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content. And let's go. Knowing your blind spots is important because it helps you identify things that you might not be aware of that you're doing in your life. This can be a limitation or weakness that you're showing out in the world, and possibly it can prevent you from reaching your ultimate full potential in life. From both a professional and personal standpoint, blind spots can also impact your relationships, causing miscommunication and misunderstandings from people. By being aware of your blind spots, you can proactively work to address them and help you develop new skills and behaviors to overcome them in the future. This can also lead to increased self-awareness and improved decision-making, and overall greater personal growth and development for you. Knowing your blind spots is essential for anyone that wants to maximize their potential in life. But it's also a very hard skill to master because it's not really readily taught. And we as humans do not like to have our flaws exposed, even to ourselves. It takes knowing yourself well and setting ego aside to fully be able to understand your blind spots, and ultimately find the root cause of what's causing that blind spot and work to address that. And sometimes the problem is multiple layers deep, so it'll take you a really long time to figure out what is at the root of it. But in all cases, your life will be significantly impacted for the better if you find what your blind spots are. So here are my lessons learned about blind spots. Number 1, accept feedback. Be willing to accept feedback from others about your behavior or attitudes. Ask people you trust for constructive criticism about what your blind spots may be. And the key is to take their input seriously and see how you can be better. This takes the most amount of effort to get right because your own ego will be fighting you every step of the way. The wanting to be defensive will be there when people tell you about yourself. And depending on what your tolerances are for criticism, it might be very painful for you to hear that. And you might not really want to listen to the actual feedback others give to you, because you might end up just asking a question and not really listening to the feedback itself. I think that throughout my early life, all the way up into my early 20s, I've always asked for advice about myself, but I never actually listened to it. But when I started to actually listen to people in my mid-20s, then my life started to change. This was because deep down inside, I never really trusted or believed that person about the feedback that was given to me. But it took me failing and doing things over and over again to realize that I needed to change something about myself. And I kept hitting my head against the wall until I learned to actually listen and accept that feedback and change. To really do this properly, you have to come with an open mind. It is a must. You must be willing to engage with that person in honest conversation and understand and listen. Then when you realize what you need to change, the process starts in actually doing it. At that point, you can implement those changes if you so wish. So talk to trusted people and accept feedback of what your blind spots truly are. Number 2, self-reflection is a must. Take some time to reflect on your thoughts, feelings, and actions in life. Try to identify any actions or behavior that's holding you back in life. Journaling and meditation can be really helpful tools in self-reflection. The idea is that we are more in tune with ourselves during the self-reflection process, and we are more able to listen closely to what our minds are actually trying to tell us about what we're doing. The reflection process helps slow down the thoughts in our head so we actually can listen, and really trying to understand what may be causing us failures or mistakes in our lives. We can create a narrative of what our blind spots is causing in our lives. I spent a lot of time during my mid-20s in this reflection process. I used this time to figure out what I wanted and work backwards from it, and realized what was holding me back from achieving it. In each case, I realized there was a personality issue that I hadn't resolved in my life up to that point. Or it was something that I just wasn't putting effort into. Reflection for me was the key to identifying these blind spots for me. Self-reflection can look really different from person to person. The key is to really have the time and space for your mind to slowly unravel to tell you that story of what your blind spots may be. This means that you cannot be distracted during this process and you have to dedicate full attention towards it. So find out what your blind spots are during your self-reflection process. Number 3, core values. Think about what is most important to you and how your actions align with your values. Sometimes our blind spots come from not living a life according to our own values. We might actually be living a life for others rather than for ourselves. This can be doing things for school, work, or family obligations. And when we start to live a life for other people, we can start to develop blind spots within our own selves. This can result in disingenuous feelings and motivations in our lives. And we can also develop blind spots when we idealize something that we really want, but fail to follow through with it because we haven't figured out something personally holding us back. When we keep our core values in mind, we prevent our minds from going on autopilot and just living life. We can more stay engaged with what we're doing and intention behind that. In a large portion of my life, I just didn't know what my core values were. I always felt during this time that something was off, that I wasn't living my life according to my own values. In absence of my own core values, I lived the life of other people's values. And this resulted in me feeling very unsatisfied with a lot of things that I was doing during that time. When I started to understand in my mid-20s what my core values were, life started to open up for me. This meant that I would follow my own path and start saying no to the things that weren't right for me. I took back control of my life during this time and it strengthened me for the future. When you try to define your core values, see if you're actually doing it in the first place or following through with it with your own values. If you're a vegetarian, that means there's no cheat days for meat. Or if you're really into self-care but you don't really have good boundaries with other people. Core values really help to protect us from straying too far from our goals in life. Whenever you're not aligned to a specific core value, then you might have a blind spot to why you're doing it in the first place. So knowing your core values can really turbocharge you in identifying your blind spots in life. Number 4, seek others. If you're still struggling to identify your blind spots, then you might need to reach out to other people. These can be a therapist, a coach, or a mentor in your life. And these professionals can provide you a fresh perspective on your own biases. Because they're not biased to who you are, they can offer you a different insight than your own perspective. Because after seeking trusted feedback, you might still not get to the root of where your blind spots are. And these unbiased professionals from experience can be a good judge of your character. Even if they don't know you that well, you might fit into a stereotype that they've encountered before. I've had various therapists, coach, and mentors throughout my life. And I always come away with something that I didn't know about myself. Because for me, my entire life and the friends surrounding me are all used to the thing that I'm doing. So that becomes a blind spot. And to go through that experience, it's really strange for someone that you don't know to point out some critical flaw that you have. So if you're really serious about uncovering your blind spots, seek professional opinions. This is really the way to go if you want to uncover that blind spot and you need it fixed right away. And whether you're hiring them or meeting them through various connections, you have to develop the trust between the two of you. They cannot have a personal agenda for telling you what they tell you. So seek advanced help if you really want to dig into what your blind spots are. And number 5, be patient. Identifying blind spots can be a very difficult and long drawn out process. Be patient with yourself and remember to treat yourself with compassion. Remember that everyone has blind spots and it's okay to make a mistake in life. The most important thing to learn is the ability to grow and learn from that situation. And depending how deep the roots are from this particular blind spot, it can take a while to uncover it and fix it. When we start on the journey of personal growth and development, it's never easy or straightforward. And realizing that you have a flaw that needs fixing is never a fun process to go through. My 20s were all about figuring out what my blind spots were and trying to correct them. But each one of those blind spots for me took a long time for me to resolve. In each case, I had to listen to feedback, unravel my own ego, and then realize that I needed to fix it. I had to get back to the basics to accept certain fundamental flaws within my life. As you start to examine your own life for personal flaws, know that it will take time. When you first hear about your own blind spots, you might resist the idea or get defensive. And then sometime later, you might hear that same feedback again. Over time, that feedback might stick in your mind and eventually you might want to do something about it. This process of identifying blind spots might take years. So know that blind spots aren't easy to figure out or resolve. But when we choose to examine our lives and make ourselves into a better person, know that it won't be easy or fast. So be prepared for a mess and to be patient during this time. So here are my general thoughts about identifying blind spots. At all times, I have to try to be humble about what I can and cannot do. As much as I would like to say that I've conquered my blind spots, saying that is just false. That in itself might be a trap or a blind spot. So with more knowledge, I still need to follow the lessons that I've learned to identify my own blind spots. It's a humbling process to know that you'll always have blind spots to uncover. And just because you find them out, that doesn't mean the job is done. You still have to work to correct them if you want to. You can also choose to do nothing, but that comes with consequences in and of itself. I'll probably do another video in the future to go through how I would solve a personal flaw. I think it's a really important topic because not everybody in life tells you how to fix a personality flaw. Although I do think that we need to accept people's differences from time to time, resolving personal flaws can be a benefit to all of us. If we identify a blind spot, then we must work to try to correct that to better the other people's lives around us. We all need to try to be the best versions of ourselves to other people in our lives. So those were my lessons learned on how to identify blind spots in your life. All of us have various blind spots that are holding us back in life. Those lucky enough to find them, correct them, have had positive impacts in their lives. Those without knowing what their blind spots are might be doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over in their lives without even knowing it, and ultimately hurt their chances for personal growth and development. I know that in my own life, I've reaped the rewards of figuring out what my blind spots were and try to course correct for them. And I've used this knowledge to try to better myself and those around me. So I hope you're able to take something from my lessons learned on identifying blind spots and applying it to your own journey in life. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment down below on what was a blind spot that you uncovered and what did you do about it. And I'll see you next time.